Great. So our next panel, I want to tell you guys a little personal story before they come out, and you'll see there's a little like red Bayer aspirin thing on your chairs. This year, I think in February, I had a scare where one night I woke up and I thought I was having a heart attack. I just felt clammy and had a knot in my chest, and so I called 911. And the only upside to this story is that I had like 6 hot firefighters in my bedroom within 10 minutes. And it turned out it was stress. And the two things I want to tell you, one is that stress and heart attack symptoms are almost identical. And apparently women in particular don't call 911 because they just think it's silly. And I felt that way. I felt silly waking my husband up. Melanie, did you have the same?
I'm very involved in cardiovascular stuff, and I do a women's heart health conference. And it is amazing the number of women who are having a heart attack, and they say to their husbands, you know, I'm not feeling so good. I'm going to go to the ER. And they tell their husbands, it's okay, I'll drive myself. And you just go back to sleep. Now, you know if they were having a heart attack,
Oh, yeah.
they would demand you get out of that bed and drive. But women typically,
Yes.
we think, you know, again, we're multitasking. We're having heart attack and driving at the same time.
Yes. Exactly right. So I thought that moment for me, first of all, I realized I'm building this 3% community. I'm running my agency. I have 2 kids. So I got rid of the kids. No. So it was a big wake-up call to me to take things down a notch. And I thought, I've got 400 people that work in advertising coming here today, which I think is arguably one of the most stressful careers you can work in. So I want all of you to listen to this next panel and think about how you're living your lives and take care of yourselves. And Bayer sent those for us as a gift. So that's as much an important part of being an effective creative director as all of the rest of it. So let's welcome up onto the panel, Protecting the Muse. And we've got Shasta Nelson, and we've got Yvonne Talley, and Dr. Romy Mushtaq, and Julie Vessels, our moderator.
Thank you for the transition, because I was back there racking my brain. How am I going to transition between protecting the kittens and protecting the muse? So thank you, and we're so excited to be here. And as I was thinking about this panel in light of yesterday, yesterday we talked so much about external factors, barriers we need to break down, perceptions we need to shift, rules we need to break. And today, as Kat mentioned, we're going to focus inward. How can we help ourselves? How can we help ourselves be aware? How can we help ourselves stay motivated? And importantly, how can we help ourselves stay sane in what can often be a very insane industry? And like Kat, I just think this conversation is so important. As you all know, creativity and thinking and ideas is our currency. It's what we get paid to do. But as I think a lot of conversation happened yesterday, it's also our power. It's our influence. It's the impact that we have to really change this industry, and let's just say the world. And in order to do that, we need to fuel the engine that helps us be creative, which is us. So today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about awareness around these issues, indicators, because I think the biggest issue we have in this industry, especially for women, is burnout. It's become our measuring stick. We push ourselves till we get to that point, and we need some more early indicators to guide us that that's not the point. That's bankruptcy. We have to think before that point. So that's what we're here today, and I have these amazing women joining us today. And I'll caveat, they're not from the industry, but they are experts. They have helped thousands of women with the sort of issues that we deal with in our industry every day. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to dive right in.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Romy. I'm a mind-body medicine physician and a neurologist and a yoga and meditation teacher. And so you all just cross your legs going, oh shit. She's here to remind me I need to make that annual exam and get a pap smear or do the breast exam. And I'm thinking in my mind right now, oh, my mother's voice, Romila, you just grabbed your breast on stage in front of the most intelligent women in advertising? Yeah, no. I'm here because when Kat reached out to me and told me her story, a piece of my heart broke and then opened up to her. I used to belong to another 3%. As a neurologist in academic medicine, less than 3% of faculty members are women. Those bald guys and the white that have the closed circles didn't want my lipstick, the breasts, and the stilettos anywhere near. And I was on the road and suffered physician burnout. And my journey from surviving life-saving surgery to traveling around the world in Asia, learning about yoga and meditation, taught me about mindfulness. And if I can empower your minds to tap into that creativity despite the stress, I have a selfish interest. Then I don't need to see the vaginas and the breasts in advertising anymore.
I'm Yvonne Talley. I'm the co-founder of Poised, a lifestyle and fitness company. Yes, fitness, that dirty F word, but I won't make anybody work out today. We started our business 13 years ago. My business partner is 76 years old, puts me to shame as far as energy goes. When we first started several years ago, our tagline, if you will, was "Attitude is everything." We still use it today, even though it might be a little bit dated and a little old, but it actually is the cornerstone and the core of everything that we do. If we can get this right between the ears, remember that's precious real estate up there, if we can get that right between the ears, everything flows from that. So today I hope to share some of my practical and simple solutions to finding space for you in your life. Because if you're well and you're strong, you can care for others and you can receive from others as well. And when we receive, we allow others to give. So hopefully today that's the message that we can share with all of you. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies. My name is Shasta Nelson. I'm the CEO of a company called girlfriendcircles.com. It's kind of like a match.com for female friendship. So it's in 40 cities across the country. When women move to a new area or go through many life changes, research is actually showing that we are replacing half of our close friends every 7 years. So if you think about who you would have as your bridesmaids, if you were picking 6 friends to be the closest friends in your life right now, chances are that 7 years ago, 2 or 3 of those women would have been different, ones that you would have chosen. And chances are just as high that 7 years from now, you haven't yet even met some of the women that you might choose to stand in that circle with you. So there's some shift happening. And so I also have written a book called Friendships Don't Just Happen to help kind of guide us through articulating which of the 5 types of friends we're needing to build in our lives and how to do that. Because it doesn't just happen, even though it felt so automatic at one point in our lives when we were kids. And so I'm super passionate about female friendship, healthy relationships, so that we don't just get there to the top, but we make sure we do it with love and bringing everyone else there too to get that. Can't get 50-50 all by ourselves.
Thank you so much. And I didn't even introduce myself because I was so excited to get going. I'm a group account director at Mono, which is a creative agency in Minneapolis. So we've been talking. Let's keep talking. I think stress is this thing we take for granted. And again, this is a creative, dynamic industry. Dr. Romy, help us understand how to think about the toll that stress can take and a demanding job on your creative mind and your thoughtfulness and your thinking.
Yeah. That's a great question, Julie. And please don't everybody just start picking up your smartphone going, oh, she's going to start talking about the science now. And I'm not going to give you the 5 headlines that probably a lot of you are responsible for putting on the women's magazines. 5 ways to get rid of stress in your life. I don't know about you, but I live in the human world, and sometimes we experience an inhumane existence. Stress in our outer world will never go away until the day we go to the grave, unfortunately. So I'm not here to tell you to ignore the stress. I'm here to say we need to learn to function despite the stress. And your management of stress is in direct relationship of how well you're going to function, whether you're on the creative side or the accounting side. So when I talk about stress in the mind, popular psychology made it really popular to say you're left-brained and you're analytical, and that's the neurology side of Romy, talking about brain science, or for those of you in accounting. And then there's the right side of the brain, that's my yogi meditating side. But really, we want both sides of the brain to work better. I give you an example. If I say you're going to create a PR campaign for a mind-body medicine physician spreading women's health and wellness, I want both sides of your brains working. I want your analytical side off so you don't automatically start thinking lawnmowers and beer cans. If you can tie together lawnmowers and beer cans with women's health and wellness, then damn, you're creative or crazy, you know? So either way, we do that. And how do we do this? When stress affects the mind, whether it's an acute stressor, a car accident, you've heard that bear in the woods, there's something known as the stress response, researched at Harvard dating back to the 1940s, where chemicals are released in the brain and they cause your heart to race, palms to get sweaty. And what happens to your mind? It quotes, as we say in popular psychology, shuts off. The important analytical tools we need to figure out an account, obey traffic rules, all of a sudden are difficult to access. And certainly that creative muse that we all want to be able to tap into, writing a blog post, creating the perfect logo, picking the perfect font, is also no longer present to us. And then you're saying, well, Romy, I've got stress all the time in my life, and that means I'm not going to function in the advertising world. That's not true, because then there's something called a relaxation response, which we're going to all talk about, little micro actions you can take to tap into that creativity. And what happens with these just small little micro actions you can be mindful of taking every day is you release the endorphins and the healthy chemicals for the brain that calm the stress down and helps you connect to a more balanced brain where you're both analytical and feeling creative and feeling now and in the moment. And that's where we'll go a little bit later. So,
Yvonne, I think we think about our bodies and stress and exhaustion. Like we were talking, how else should we be calibrating and thinking about the impact and how we should be thinking about our bodies as it relates to stress in times of demand?
Stress on the body, it's not, as Kat was telling her story. In fact, Kat and I ran into one another at Farmers Market a few months ago, and we shared a story with one another because we had a similar experience. And I'm supposed to be this guru of relaxation and health and fitness and all of this, and having managed my life around balance. And I too had a similar experience that Kat had, and it was due to stress. So stress doesn't just all of a sudden happen. I'm sure that all of you have your own story. It's kind of like going scuba diving without the proper gear. You start to go down underwater, and then all of a sudden, slowly, gradually, you start to feel that pressure. And the world around us starts to get really small, and we start to have ailments on our bodies, such as, how did everybody sleep last night? I mean, insomnia is one of the things that pops up, and when we don't sleep well, then what happens? We start to gain weight because we don't get that nice, those 5 cycles of sleep where we get into that REM sleep, and then the body, it burns the most calories at the end of our sleep cycles. So we start to gain weight. We have all sorts of ailments that start to happen. Asthma is one of them, certainly irritability. Not that that's ever happened to me. Irritability, forgetfulness. How many times do you lose your keys or forget where you put your glasses? Notice that I have in my hand so I don't forget them. So all of those things start to play. And as I say, it's a slow kind of a process. So if you feel as though you're in that boat right now and you're starting to feel it a little bit, there are a couple of things that you can do. Sleep is one of them. So a little quick tip for that would be, we set our alarm to get up in the morning, but how about setting your alarm to go to sleep at night? I know that sounds really silly, but I don't know about you. I'll say, I'm going to go to bed at 10, and then at 9:55, I decide to check my emails and go clean my house. That doesn't work very well to get me in bed on time. So set your alarm. If you know that you're sleep deprived and you know that you need an hour more sleep at night, don't start all of a sudden by trying to get to bed an hour earlier. Set your alarm to get into bed 15 minutes earlier. Start small, one tiny bit at a time, and then in a couple of weeks, maybe add 5 minutes more until you get to that optimum level. Because at the end of the day, your body, your temple is what you want to take care of, but you don't want to get more stressed about having to take care of it. So start teeny tiny, and sleep would be my first recommendation on how to kind of really protect your body.
I love that, and I love the things we probably disassociate from stress, like forgetfulness, irritability,
Exactly.
Sleep. You know, again, I think we're looking for these huge indicators, but these small things can
Teeny
be
tiny. Where's
our
my kid?
first line of a warning, and I think that's a good message for this audience to be aware of the little things as well as the big things. What I love about the combination of having neurology and health and then friendship is, I think friendship is that other thing that we don't think relates to stress that much.
The first thing to go when we're stressed
It
out.
is, and I think especially for this industry, it's all or nothing. I will never forget in my early years at Fallon when I got to work on my first new business pitch. That was a big opportunity, followed by Pat telling me, say goodbye to your family, your friends, and your significant other, because we're in it to win it. And somewhere along the way, this has become an all or nothing proposition. And I think we don't realize what friends play in our work, our lives, our creativity.
Huge.
You know, how do you put that in perspective for the people that you reach out to?
Well, there's some amazing research in a really big study that came out from Brigham Young University 2 years ago, a longitudinal study, and they looked at how the effect on our bodies if we feel disconnected. And they said if you were a chain smoker and felt disconnected, which action would you take that would actually play more to your health? And they said make friends more. If you could be smoking 15 cigarettes a day and it would not do as much damage as if you feel disconnected. And they said it's twice as harmful on your body to be feeling disconnected and lonely than actually being obese or a lifelong alcoholic. So we're talking about really, I mean, this isn't just like, oh, yay, girls' night, if I have time, how fun, like, yay, this feels good. This is not a luxury. Like, it's really compelling to have research coming out saying, like, this is changing our physiology. This is changing how we're showing up in the world. It's changing the way we're thinking about ourselves, about others. Our ability to make a difference in this world comes down to so much of our ability to learn how to, like, love each other. And it's so hard to show up and be present and love the people in front of us when we are exhausted and stressed out and depleted. And if we want to make a difference, it's not just one more project that's going to make the difference. It's hopefully we're all doing that and trying to make the world a better place, which really the outgrowth of that is that we all are treating each other well. And so to be able to start from that place, I mean, this is so huge. I would tie this into any subject of huge importance. And when you're talking about kind of seeing the stress, how it plays out in your mind and in your body, when it comes to our relationships, there's two ways that we can start seeing it play out if we feel a little disconnected and might have our bodies longing for a little more connection. One of the ways is, how many of you have ever like looked at a group of friends or looked at a photo of you with friends and you kind of just have that like little puppy dog at the pound look where you're just like, pick me, like I want that, I remember that, and you have that little feeling in you that just says, I don't have time, or oh, it's just not, you know, we kind of just make these excuses. And I really want to invite you, ladies, to hear that voice in you that says, I want connection, I want friendships, and treat it with the same reverence you would if it was your stomach growling, or your throat feeling parched, or your body needing rest. Like, don't dismiss it as like oh, I'm not lonely, that's crazy. I'm still good friends with Amber from our intern days, and we talk at least twice a year, and we sit here and justify, like, I'm not really lonely, I know everybody, I'm out every single night, and we kind of like talk ourselves out of it, and we sit there and like start naming our friends to justify we're good people, and really, it's kind of like saying this, I just treat loneliness as that's the voice in me saying, I want more connection. The same way my body says, I'm hungry, and there's no shame in it, there's no stigma. I don't get mad at my body like, oh, I fed you yesterday, what is your problem? Why can't we get this figured out? It's, I need ongoing connection. And so when I hear that little voice, that's my way of saying, I'm not gonna pull away from it, I'm not gonna defend it. There's no stigma. We need to release that stigma that says if I admit I need friends, that somehow we're like, I'm saying to the world, nobody likes me, I have no friends, I'm a complete loser. And we're afraid that by saying I need friends that we're sending that message, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We are just human beings made for relation and connection. So hear that little voice and don't push it away.
And I think as we talk about all the perceptions that we need to shift, it's become a convention that disconnection and isolation is okay. You know, you gotta give it your all, and if that means eliminating things, and I think that's something we have to press on in this industry.
And if I could just make one point on what you said, because I think that's so important. What you're talking about is connection. We find that in our business, because we are fitness and lifestyle, that when women connect and do things that they really enjoy, such as working out together, they're far more likely to continue their fitness if they're doing it with someone that they enjoy being with. And then one other little thing too, because I did mention sleep, which I call the silent workout, but the other thing too is during the course of the day, talk about connections, is that grab your friend that you share your office with and go for a 10-minute walk and do not talk about
I thought you were
work.
going to tell us to sleep together.
And then sleep together. She stepped on my line.
I was like, are we napping together? I haven't done this yet.
That too. That works. Makes everybody happy. Take a 10-minute walk. Don't talk about work.
Awesome.
Well, let's talk about excuses, and I might be projecting a little too much here, but I would say, you know, these are common things. I have to wait until everything else is done before I can do something for myself. I don't have time to add something else to my life. And then there is I just gotta suck it up, get through this, and then when it's over, then I'll deal. And I'm sure these are not uncommon things you hear from other people outside this industry. What advice? Because I think so much of it is about permission. Mm-hmm. You know, how do you have that
Julie,
conversation?
That's so beautiful. I have this discussion every day with my one-on-one coaching clients, my corporate consulting clients, and speaking in big groups. And so I share my mantra with you all, and that is self-care is not selfish. And do me a favor, will you just repeat that for me, please?
Self-care is not selfish.
Great. Now be honest with me. Of those of you who just said that, how did you feel fabulous and that felt really easy to say? Yeah, it's only easy for me because I say it every morning. You know, we all love those positive quotes that come on Facebook, but what's the thing about an affirmation and the brain science we know about this is until you keep repeating a positive statement or a habit, brain cells, and that's neuroplasticity is a really sexy term in my world of neuroscience, the brain cells actually change. But most of us are tuned to that negative frequency that I can't take care of myself, I can't do this, it's selfish. So repeat that over and over, and it's normal. As us women, we are givers to our colleagues, to our children, to our pets, to our families, before we ever give to ourselves. And I learned this personally. I've been where you are, and some days I still am where you are. And I remind myself this, that how can we give of ourselves when our tanks are empty? When people are drawing upon us from an empty tank, they are not getting creativity, they are not getting love, they are getting bitterness, irritability, stress. And when we talk about self-care, you know, automatically, most women, I don't know about you, I think of that fabulous spa and a limousine comes and that driver is handsome and you create this really amazing fantasy in your head and it's gonna take all day. But self-care is done in micro actions, and we're all gonna give you some tips for the home and the office. And it's about giving yourself permission for just 10 minutes, 20 minutes to do some form of self-care that's going to rewire your mind to a less stressful state. And the way you do that is either something that you see pleases you, something you touch, like petting your dog, something you taste, a good tasting food, an aroma you smell, like the lavender incense. As long as it's crossing one of the sensations, you're reducing those stress hormones I was talking about, bringing on the relaxation. So try it one more time now that you've heard me say a little doctor lecture about it. Try it one more time. Self-care is not selfish.
Self-care is
Not selfish. Good. And I gift you that mantra, and that at any moment when the stress levels is high, go back to that mantra, please.
It almost sounds like it doesn't have to be work, as you're describing it.
I agree.
I mean, what advice do you guys offer?
Just,
I don't have enough time, I can't fit it in.
that's a mantra that we probably should get rid of, is that I don't have enough time. And it's about I always say turn it around, turn the mirror around. How can you make time for yourself? How can you fit yourself into your life? There's a concept for us to really grab onto, because if, as I said earlier, if we're not strong, if we're not able to get through our day and our world, not even about getting through, but really flourishing and feeling vibrant in our day-to-day. If we can't do that, then we cannot give to other people. Our creative ideas and that big idea is not going to be quite as big as we'd like it to be, because we just don't have the juice and the energy to be able to get it done. So again, it's one small change at a time. And you know, today I'm talking about the body. It's about making those small choices. I always say reboot. You know how you'll start out the day, oh, I shouldn't have had that croissant and that latte, followed up by the other, you know, cinnamon bun, all those things that we do, and we beat ourselves up for it. As Dr. Rami said, then the whole brain chemistry starts to change. Reboot. Okay, I made a bad choice for breakfast. So now for the rest of the day, or for the next 4 hours, I'm going to make really good choices that I know are going to fuel me up. And that's really what we're trying to do, is get more fuel into our body so that we can do what we do better. One small choice at a time. If you're not working out right now, don't feel like you have to go out and spend an hour or half hour tomorrow and do that 6 days a week, because in 6 days, we won't do it anymore. We will have set ourselves up for failure. If you're not working out right now, as I said, take a 10-minute walk, grab a friend. If you are working out and you know you need a few minutes more, add small increments. I had a client that came in. I'm going back now 9 years. She had 68 pounds to lose. I remember it because she kept saying, I have 68 pounds, I have 68 pounds, I have 68. She tried everything. She'd done every kind of program that she possibly could. She had so many different meals delivered to her house. I think she needed a separate kitchen for all of it. It was just unbelievable what this woman had tried to do to lose this weight. And I said, okay, well, let's start really small. What are you up to? I started her off literally 3 minutes a day. She said, I'm not going to lose any weight 3 minutes a day. I said, well, you'll get to that point eventually. Fast forward, she lost all the weight. She's kept it off. She's had another baby. And she cooks her own meals. For the first time, she started cooking her own meals. And she got there because she decided to make, as I always say, it's a lifestyle shift. So if we're going to shift something, what is that? That's a small change to get us to the end result. So think about it in those terms, making time for yourself in your life every day, and what can you do small today that's going to make it big tomorrow.
And I like the idea of setting yourself up for success.
Definitely.
Because I think we're
you're good at that.
We're great at saying when we're not succeeding, but the small steps, like make it something you can succeed at.
Yeah, we make our clients successful all the time. Use those strategies that you've done for, you know, those rituals that you use to be successful in your business. Turn that around and allow yourself to have that for yourself. Use those rituals for yourself to get there.
I remember when we first talked, Shasta, and you said, stress isn't going to go away. And I was like, but I was hoping you would tell me the way to make stress go away. And I thought that was an interesting thought, that we deal with it. We can't eliminate it.
Yeah, unfortunately. And there's good stress. And good stress has the same effect on our body, actually, as negative stress. I mean, it's stress, and it's doing the thing it does in our bodies. And I think one of the most important things to realize is that our bodies, going into the stress response mode, we have all of this cortisol shooting through our bodies, and it's that cortisol that puts our body into a place where we actually can't repair and can't recover and can't relax. And so one of the really powerful things is oxytocin is a chemical that happens when we touch, when we're connecting, when we're sharing, when we're relating to people, when it's the bonding chemical. And it's that chemical that I've been told is an inhibitor of cortisol. The two chemicals cannot be going through our bodies at the same time. So when those oxytocin starts going through, when you and I get together for dinner or to talk for a few minutes, we actually are taking that stress out of our body for those 10 minutes, those 15 minutes, whatever we can spend together, and actually that's where our bodies do the repair work from everything that we've done during the day that was stressful. So you can't get rid of all the stress, but you can repair your body and make sure that you're taking care of your body so that you're not just taking money out, like withdrawals all the time, but putting deposits in. And friendship is one of the best ways to make a massive big deposit so that you can then make those withdrawals when you need to, when it's chosen stress, when it's the stress that you're choosing to engage in this world. So I think it's one of those things for me that I have girls' night with 4 women every Tuesday night, and my life is busy enough that to do it every week is very hard, but I have found it easier to commit to something weekly than to do 500 emails back and forth with all these separate women to line up all these coffee dates 3 weeks from now and then try to do this, and like that's more stressful on me, trying to arrange, trying to see them all separately, trying to schedule, initiate, oh, I haven't seen her in a while, I need to touch base with her. And so every Tuesday night, girls' night. And I step into that every Tuesday night, and I will tell you a secret between you and me. I'm like little Miss Friendship Woman. I'm supposed to always want to be friends, right? I'd say half of those Tuesday nights, I find myself on Tuesday afternoon being like, oh, like, oh, I just want to be home tonight sitting on my couch with my husband, or oh, I just need to be on this project. I've got this big talk tomorrow. I just need to like work on that. And I if it left to my own devices, I would talk myself out of that more often than not. Because it's something I just simply say is in my schedule. I do it. I don't sit there and ask myself, do I want to do this? I do it. And there has never, ever been a Tuesday night where I've returned home regretting having gone. Every single time I've gone, I've come home and I can tell the difference in my body, in my mood, being seen, having my life witnessed, connecting. Priceless.
And you get the laughing workout when you're with your girlfriend. So
Yeah,
there you
totally.
go.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Good
Well, I
advice.
want to make sure, again, for this very overachieving, want to succeed group, that we give them some actionable steps.
Yeah.
And again, it's hard enough for us to not be on our computer and our iPhone and maybe our Galaxy, who knows. So like, let's talk about mindfulness and what role does that play when we're high tech, all the time?
I hear you, and or your worlds are tech. It's so amazing because at my world we still use beepers in the hospital, and I don't think they exist anywhere else on planet Earth. But you know, first when I talk about the word mindfulness, I want to define it, and don't think, oh, this is Romy, this is what you learned when you were sitting learning meditation with the monks in Cambodia. You know, mindfulness is just two simple words: pay attention. And this panel is about paying attention to yourself. And how do we bring that into the workplace? Well, you know, when I work with corporate clients one-on-one, I come in and I see the flow of your office and what's going on. But what I found was there are some universal tips we can all do. And these I'm just offering to you. I'm not telling you what to do to put on a task list, because if it feels inside, then don't do it. But you know, these are simple things. And the first thing, as you're talking about, is multitasking. Psychological studies, the brain scan studies show that multitasking depresses the brain's function in memory, in analytics, and completely shuts off the right temporal lobe and posterior cortex, which is the music and the creativity center. And I think creativity is a really important currency in this room, if I'm not right, you know? And so how do we get everything we need to do in one day in the office and not do that? My advice always is pick 15 or 30-minute increments and just say to yourself out loud, Romy, for the next 30 minutes, I am going to answer all of the emails that I can in 30 minutes. Okay, Romy, you have 15 minutes to check the Twitter feed to see if that really funny unmarketing guy tweeted me back, you know, because I was nervous backstage. And break up your tasks in that manner. Now, if you're still feeling stuck, does anybody else here in the room like me, you get stuck because you're brainstorming and you're like, oh, I gave myself 30 minutes and I can't figure out what font to use or this, right? Is that resonating? Then what we need to do is we need to change the sensory input of the brain. You need to change the sights, walk out of your office, pick another location, change the smell something pleasant. Change the sound, put on happy music. This is not the time to put on the music where it's screaming, kill your boss, you know, screw the client. No, this is that happy, I feel good listening to this music. As I mentioned, the more sensations you can go through, you're rewiring your brain for relaxation. And so then the last step, if changing scenery and creating focus doesn't work, is the D word, delegate. Delegate. And finding that when we reach for help, not only as Shasta is talking about in our personal lives, reaching for girlfriends, but in our workplace, and make these connections, we automatically reduce the stress level, and you're actually perhaps reaching out to a colleague who wants to feel needed and important, as collaborative on the team. So those are the 3 mindful techniques that are just a micro action that I empower you to try in the next couple weeks.
And when I hear you, I want to make sure I'm getting this right for our audience. Like when you are stuck in that brainstorm and you're thinking, I just have to think harder. I think what you're suggesting is sometimes you have to walk away.
You have to walk
away.
Or change. Absolutely. Or change of scenery, change of location, change of sight and sound. And really the last thing I say, the breath teacher and meditation teacher in me, and the science backs this up, is come inside and take a breath. A deep inhale and exhale. And if you're like, oh, the thoughts are still running in my mind. They're running in my mind. Keep breathing. Name that emotion. What is that emotion? Oh, frustration. Okay, I'm feeling frustrated. Breathe and breathe. And then you find that it slowly goes down, and we're going to end hopefully with a little meditation that you can take back to your office, and I'll be in the recording studio recording, and happy to send a cat at the end of the month. Or it'll be available on my website for you all to tap into if guided meditation is something that helps you to remember to breathe.
What other things can people do? Can they take with them? And you've already provided some, but what else can people do to take those small steps, replenish their body, be connected?
Well, I've already approached a little bit with the fitness. I don't want to get too much into that because I might lose everybody, because fitness is kind of a nasty word sometimes. But the other part that I would talk about would be food. I wrote a book called Your Fit Gourmet, Cooking Secrets for the Overscheduled Woman, which I think we all are in this room. And what I found when I wrote it was that I didn't have time to write it, so I had to really make a lot of time to write it. And I just made that commitment, and I literally took 5 years to write it. But I allowed myself that time to enjoy writing it. And I think that's an important part of what we're doing today, is find those parts of your day that you carve out for yourself to enjoy. And food, I don't know about you, but when you come home, do you open up the refrigerator and go, oh, nothing. There's nothing in there. I remember my brother saying that to my mother, who was a single working mother, and he came in one night and he said, there's nothing in the refrigerator. And my mother was the sweetest, kindest woman in the world, and he went to walk away, and she literally picked up a can of fruit cocktail and threw it at him. That's when we ate fruit cocktail and Jell-O. We don't do that anymore. But if you're going to have a dinner, make sure that you plan for it just like you plan your day. And it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. I'm a real organic fan. I go to a farmer's market every week. Obviously, I love to cook, and I cook a lot, but that doesn't mean that everybody enjoys that same. There's been many times where I've stopped by Whole Foods, picked up the chicken and brought it home, taken and scrambled up some eggs and served it with a salad. But make it nice for yourself. Put down a placemat. Sit down. Turn on some nice music, something really, really small. And one more thing that you can do with your food is make a plan. I know it sounds terrible, but if you could make a menu, even if you're not doing it now, don't try to do it for 5 days a week. Just plan one meal during the week that you're going to have, and it'll be something nice to look forward to. So that would be the food part that I would try to incorporate into your life. Again, practical, small. Start to think about how you want to feel in the evening when you sit down, and then make that happen for yourself. You're all incredibly creative. Reserve some of those creative juices for yourself. And of course, maybe a glass of wine would be nice too. Make sure you have it with your meal, though.
What about friendships at work? Because this is a very social industry. I think for many of us, our friends are born out of this industry. And I think there are times when it does get intense that your friends are so focused on the work, and maybe you don't leave room for anything else. And what does that do to a friendship? How do you expand a friendship when it's born out of a work situation? And how important is that?
Super important. Work is still the #1 place we're making friends, and it's still one of the easiest places to make friends if we're in environments where that's conducive. Because here's the secret: is it's the most similar environment and circumstances as when it felt automatic when we were in school, because we were forced to be at school every day. So we didn't have to invite each other to come to school. We were at school and saw each other, and the same is true at work. So these are people that, ironically, many of us become friends with each other, and you might be sitting next to her thinking, if you had actually met each other for a coffee date to see if you'd be friends, you probably would have been like, we don't have that much in common. But because you work together all the time, you become closer. That's one of the factors of friendship, is time together matters. So you're making friends at work, hopefully. The one caveat I really want to make time to say is that if this is a friendship that you want to have go beyond the job, then you need to have that friendship practice going beyond the job now. I hear from more women than anything pain in their voice when they say, well, I left that job 6 months ago and I never even see them, nobody calls me, and I guess we weren't really good friends, and we kind of get this whole well, I guess I know who my real friends are, they never even call me, and I guess we weren't even friends, and we just kind of devalue the whole thing, and I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I have to quickly say, you were good friends. I have 5 circles of connectedness that I talk about in my book, where it's the 5 different types of friends, and that category is often the second circle, common friends. It means we have this thing in common that's bringing us together. If we haven't practiced being friends in a different container, then when you take that container away, you have taken away the only container we know how to be friends in. We haven't yet gone to movies on Thursday nights or brunches on Sunday mornings or brought our spouses out for double dates. You want to practice taking that friendship into another container, another context, so that when one of you invariably leaves that job, you have another way you have practiced being friends. It's okay if we don't work together. We still go to museums once a month together. So one of the most important things is, if those are friendships that you want being friends, make that switch in your head that you acknowledge that, because otherwise they're only in the second category. If you want them to move over to the far right committed friends, you have to do something to help do that. The other thing I want to say is just 2 really quick micro actions to help foster more meaningful friendships. One is being as consistent as you can with the people who you already know. So that, more than anything else, is going to deepen your friendships. If you're new to the area wherever you live and you don't feel like you have intimate friends, one of the ways you can be more consistent is with somebody who you lives long distance. I have a friend that when I moved here, I just said, can we talk every Wednesday on the phone for an hour? And so just having intimacy in my life, even if it wasn't local, was important. Anything you can do to set something up regularly that's already in the calendar, making sure that every time you leave a coffee date, you say, hey, well, we both are here and have our calendars, let's schedule the next one, to avoid all that emailing that has to go back and forth to get the next one on the calendar. So consistency is important. And I'll just end with the second thing that's really important, is sharing ourselves. A lot of us aren't longing for just more interaction. We're longing for more meaningful interaction, substantial interaction. And research is showing that we can do that with a stranger, actually, and get the same benefit, as long as if they're talking about what we're sharing and how we're sharing it actually does the same value in our body as who we're sharing it with. So one of the #1 things you can do is making sure you're engaging in real conversation, the sharing of yourself and the asking of questions of somebody else. So how we're showing up, taking that image consultant out, that need to have this PR image, and actually just being as real as possible, will do wonders for, and that's actually chemically, physiologically, it will actually change and make you and help you be happier, healthier, and all those good things we want.
To that point, should we be thinking about our virtual friendships as well as our physical interactions? I mean, is that play into that?
It can, and I'm a really big fan of talking about virtual relationships, but I think most of us, when I'm with most women, what we're longing for is that 1 or 2, like, she knows me, I can call her, it feels safe relationships. And if that's what you're longing for, if you only have 2 hours of relational energy a week, if you just I don't have very much time, then don't be at risk of spending an hour and a half of that on Facebook giving thumbs ups, because at the end, that doesn't help you get closer to your goal of a deep, intimate, meaningful conversation. So if you're time crunched, say, what is my ultimate goal? Like, my ultimate goal, is it to know more people, to stay in touch with a bunch of people? Well, then by all means, spend those 2 hours on Facebook. If your ultimate goal is, I just want to have somebody that I can just kind of call and be like, what's in your fridge tonight? I don't know what's in your fridge. I mean, that takes a level of intimacy to call with nothing to say, but to check in. If you want that kind of a relationship, that takes a lot of awkward conversations of barely knowing each other, a lot of time together. It takes a lot of time to get to that place, and let's start pouring that investment in to get where we want to be.
I think that's a fascinating trade-off, because we take it so naturally, our Facebook and our Twitter feeds and Pinterest and Instagram. And
well, it takes less energy. We can just, in our yoga pants, go give 100 thumbs up and be like, I connected.
But
at the end of the day,
at the end of the day,
we would have been better off stopping for the glass of wine with a friend, even though it took more energy. At the end of the evening, we would have gotten what we actually were craving.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. I love that we've gone from comedy and we're going to end with meditation. We've done it. So Dr. Romy, if you would please.
Thank you. You know, before I do, I just want to add one more great point to Shasta's thing about the virtual reality, if I can add the science into it. And I'm not here telling ad execs that Twitter and Facebook and social media is bad. Is that there is science about the oxytocin, that the hormone, it's most released when you hug or touch someone, or even for women, hearing a voice. And so really, if you're not feeling that connected place, and one more plug, one of my favorite medical articles in Mind Body Medicine has to do with breast cancer patients. Who here in the room knows someone who has breast cancer? I know several, right? All of us. And billions and billions of dollars have gone into drugs researching breast cancer, and in the most invasive malignant types, it's created maybe 3 to 4 months prolonged life, but there was one study that showed one factor prolonged the life of a woman with stage 4 malignant invasive ductal cancer by 9 to 18 months, and that was the number of women she had in her life. And so if there's one thing I empower all of you to do is take that 10, 20 minutes to call that woman, reach out, hug her. And the best part was, you know, us scientists, we break down everything. They broke down the personality types. You need someone like me with type A personality who's going to go to the doctor with you and take notes. You're going to need the nurturing friend who's going to come and cook you a meal. You're going to need the one who knows about connections who's going to take your kids to the zoo for you.
Well, I don't know about
so
that.
I know.
Cooking the meal.
I'll take you out for a glass of wine.
There you go. There you go.
I'll
So I empower you to tie all of this together is you know, it's such an important cause that's dear and near to all of our hearts. And so I start this meditation off. I'm going to stand a little bit. Is how many people came here to San Francisco and there was something that was stuck in your mind, brainstorming a pitch, a design. I mean, my hand is up to a blog post. Anyone stuck with a client and all of that? Take a moment and give that situation a name. For me, it's title of a blog post. So take a moment and give that situation that's bothering you a name. Can you do that? Good. Okay. Now I'm going to take both feet and place them on the floor, uncross the legs. Good. And you can even take off your shoes if you want to. I'm going to do the unthinkable and take off the stilettos on stage. Wonderful. And feel your feet on the ground. That feels good. And the last thing I'm going to do is the most difficult, is let go of the tablets and the cell phones and the pens and the paper in your lap. If your cell phone goes off, that's okay. I don't have a problem. If you answer it, that's $100 you're going to donate to the 3% scholarship fund.
Excellent.
Right, Kat? We'll do that, you know. And just, this is great practice of letting go of that smartphone. And now just take a moment, and I said breathe earlier, and people were looking at me like, what do you mean breathe? Myself included, I need to remind myself to breathe. And so how do we do that? Just take a nice inhale through your nose, 1,000, 2, 1,000, and blow the air out of your mouth. 1,000, 2, 1,000, good. Now with the next inhale, roll the shoulders up to the ears, inhale, and exhale, shoulder blades coming back down towards the hips. Oh, that actually felt good to me. Let's repeat that a couple more times. Inhale, shoulders up to the ears, exhale, blowing out through the mouth. Good. One more time. Inhale, shoulders up to the ears. Exhale, shoulder blades sliding back. Good. With the next inhale, close your eyes. Exhale, drop your hands down to the lap and breathe. Inhale, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Exhale, 1,000, 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. With the next breath, as you inhale, feel your feet firmly planted on the ground. And as you exhale, let the vision of all the details of this room just disappear. And you're seated now at the water's edge on the beach. The sun is rising. As you breathe, inhale, take a look up at the sky. And look at all the colors in the palette created by the sunrise. Look and see and tell your mind what colors you see and what colors do you feel. And now take your gaze and take a breath and look off in the distance where the sky meets the water and the ocean waves. Exhale, good, inhale. And as you do that, feel the water rushing around your feet, caressing them. And now take that word for the idea that was stuck and release it into the water and exhale. And with the next breath, see that piece of paper with that word getting engulfed by the waves. And breathe. And with the next breath, the sun is rising to its peak, and there's a radiant golden light that's now overtaking all those beautiful colors in the sky being reflected in the ocean. You see this radiant golden light, and as you inhale, you feel it drawing into your heart. It's warm, It feels familiar. You know this. Take a nice deep inhale in. This golden light is your muse. She is always there for you. Exhale. Inhale. Feel that warmth in your heart rising up to your throat, shining its light onto your face and emitting up through your brilliant mind and out to the sky. Inhale and exhale. You're surrounded by this brilliant white light, and as you breathe your creativity, she is always there with you, she is in you, and she's a part of you. Take a nice another deep breath in, and as you exhale, know that we hold space for you here to honor your creative, and you take these mindful micro actions home with you, and that as you empower yourselves and the other women in your workplace, other women like us in the world of medicine and health and fitness, are supporting your movement and watching that 3% to change the ratio as we all hold space together for one another as women and men united in this cause. Thank you. Thank you for that time. Thank you. Have a wonderful, restful sleep tonight and breathe. And when you wake up in the morning, the answer and the creative will be with you. I hold that space for you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.